Moments in Black History, Reading Between the Lines by the late, great Dick Gregory. And so our topic for this evening is the state of Black America. What is our condition? I think that our guest is definitely qualified to give us an examination of that. And I use that word carefully because before a doctor can tell you what's wrong, he has to first examine to figure out what the symptoms are. What's your condition? Would you agree? I agree. And so we have a living legend, a national, global figure, Minister Ismail Muhammad, who is the national assistant to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And so without further ado, we introduce our guest, Minister Ismail Muhammad. Brother Ismail, what is our condition?
First, my dear brother and friend, Reverend Stretch Sanders, and to your co-host, Sister Michelle, thank you so very much for extending me this honor and privilege to come on the show to talk about the state of Black America and what we can do as a people to improve our condition. If we look at the vital signs of Black America, we're not doing well. In fact, the vital signs tell us that we are on our deathbed. So is America as a nation on her deathbed. If we look at the education and the high dropout rate of high school students, if we look at this inferior and poor education that are fed to our children that do not give them a sense of self-worth, dignity, respect, love, and pride. If we look at how the education that we are being fed is so Eurocentric, and the young Black boy and girl cannot see themselves in the picture, so they become disinterested in the education after second and third grade because they don't see themselves there learning about white achievements, white accomplishments. And so the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan had said to us that the crime of immeasurable dimension that has been committed on Black people is the deprivation of knowledge and depriving our people of their history. So the deprivation of knowledge and depriving us of our history robs us of the springs and motives and does not help us to realize the great potential that we have in ourselves. But if you rob the people of their history and our people don't know what their forefathers did and their ancestors did in the building of civilization, then they cannot see the possibilities, the unlimited possibilities that are within themselves to achieve great things because they come from a lineage and a heritage and a tradition of great men and women who are the fathers and mothers of civilization. If you look at the vital signs in health, the Black community is suffering from poor health, and we lead in all of the statistics the disproportionate rate of death among Blacks from heart disease and cancer, hypertension and cardiovascular disease, lung disease, diabetes. All of these things we are afflicted with, a very poor diet. So our health is not good because we were not taught how to eat to live, and we're not growing our own foods. We are dependent upon this system to feed us foods that have been denatured. If you look at the economy, we are rich people, yet that dollar that comes into our community does not circulate more than 6 hours before it's in the hands of others. Though we get $1.3 trillion out of the American economy, but very little do we own. Land we don't own, factories we don't own. Very few businesses are owned by black people. So we're suffering from the lack of jobs. So the unemployment in the major cities is high, especially among the black youth. And that leads to poverty. And where there is poverty, there is a lack of hope or no hope. Then drugs are introduced. Weapons are put in our hands. And so now you have the black on black crime and the fratricide that is in all of the major cities where our brothers are killing each other. Our vital signs, Reverend Sanders, is not good, but there is hope. There is a program among us that can relieve us and can help us to improve our condition.
Powerful. For those who are just now tuning in, you're listening to the People's Platform. We have Minister Ishmael Muhammad, the National Assistant of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, with your host, Minister Stretch, and our co-host, Michelle. And so the topic is the state of Black America. What is our condition? And Minister Ishmael, you spoke so eloquently, and some things that stood out to me. You mentioned how the self-esteem of our people, particularly our children, is so low. How do you think we can start to put things in position to combat that? Because I personally believe that it's by design. We know that in the school systems and in most arenas where children are, they don't really teach children about who they are. I remember when I was in school, there were some social study books that actually are starting to teach us that slavery was basically volunteer, and that people who were slaves were there by choice and indentured servants, and children read those things. And I remember Minister Farrakhan had did a speech where he said, if you take a picture of a room and show the audience, people are going to look for themselves. And so what can we do to start putting some things in place? Because we know that obviously we can set up schools and set up mentorship programs. What are the things you think that we can do as Black America to start setting up our children to love themselves and to be proud of who they are?
This educational system is in place to keep a plantation running for the benefit of the rich and the powerful. It is a system designed, dear brother and sister, and to our listening audience, to suppress, to oppress the black and the brown. So public education was never developed to teach the black and the brown, for that matter, but we're speaking specifically to the black, that we could learn about ourselves. So the first step is for us to take control of the education and begin to teach our children the knowledge of self. And the knowledge of self gives to our children their value. And in that value, you will find that we will be loving each other, respecting each other, treating each other as we should. So the education has devalued black people. And as a result of that education, we are programmed by the education to devalue ourselves and see ourselves in the light of the enemy who designed the educational system are inferior to white people. So it is an education that indoctrinates the idea of white supremacy. And it is white supremacy and black inferiority that has to be destroyed. So we are going to have to be more proactive as a community and as a people to do the things that are in our best interest. And to do that means that we take a free step in what was given to us by the slave master in the Emancipation Proclamation, but we have never taken a real step to exercise that freedom where people will do what is in their best interest and not be allowed to be subjugated to the influence and the control of forces outside of our community that determine what we should receive or what we should not receive. That has to end. Otherwise, there will be no improvement and change in the black community until we take on the responsibility and take on, and I should say, exercise the right of self-determination.
Once again, powerful. If you would like to call in with a question or comment, please call 702-647-3688. Once again, we have the powerful Minister Ishmael Muhammad with us today.
Thank you so much, Minister Ishmael. I just wanted to ask, because we do a lot of work in the community throughout Vegas here, and a lot of different platforms that Minister Stretch has been on, and a lot of the town hall meetings that we go to pertaining to this topic, the state of Black America. Most people will respond, it starts at home, or it starts in the home, which is really a broad topic. But my question is, what do we do? Because I was a single mother, I have twin boys and a daughter, and I had a village. And I'm a firm believer of that. It takes a village. How do we get our village back? How do we start in the home? And for so many of the single mothers, and we have the grandmothers in their 30s now, as opposed to the big mamas and the Medeias that we had, and when I was coming up. How do we bring that back? How do we get to that point again? It's a very good question, dear sister, and you should be commended along with so many other single Black women that have had to rear and bring their children up in the absence of a man in the home. We have to look again at the key to all of this is what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad asked us and said to us, we must acquire a knowledge of self. See, when we accept who we are as a people, and the home is the cornerstone, family is the cornerstone of the society, and marriage is the cornerstone of civilization. So it is natural that everything starts in the home, the teaching, the training. It starts in the home. The discipline starts in the home, and everything in society should be an extension of the values that are set in the home. School is an extension of the home, and that's why it's important for us to have a village, because it takes a village to raise a child. It takes the partnership of the mother and the parents with the teacher in the school, so that what you're teaching in the home to your children are values and respect and the value of God, that when they leave the home, that knowledge that is being given to our children in the home is furthered and enhanced in the school. So everything starts in the home, and again, it starts with us making that choice and decision that we are going to take back the responsibility. Not take back in that sense, but accept the responsibility that is our responsibility to determine the future that we desire.
Beautiful. For me, I think that if you look at today's time to when you and my mother grew up, it's totally changed. People don't want to be a part of a village. We become so individualistic, where it's my child, my problem, my house, my situation. And so when it's like that, it's almost like, where is the village? We see ourselves trying to rebuild the village, because I believe that it starts at home, but it also starts in the community center. It starts in the school. It starts in the street. We all have a responsibility. But with our people today, we all have become so And to me, that mentality is so destructive, because no other community thinks like that. We're the only people, we're the only race that is so open arms, kumbaya, where there's nothing wrong with loving other races. I believe in allyship. But when you go into La Bonita and Mariana's, which are Hispanic-owned businesses, grocery stores in Las Vegas, they're playing Spanish. And if you look, you see the kids running around, but every clerk has their eye on those children. The security guards watching, they have a village, and they're letting you know you're in a Hispanic space, you're in a Mexican space. You go in Chinatown, no matter where you go in the world, they let you know who house you in, and that they're race first. They're looking out for their own. And I want to see black people get to a point where we have that same mentality, because the reason why they're able to divide us and conquer us is because they know we don't have each other's back. But we have to have that mentality that your child is my child, your wife is my wife, your son is my son. I want with your family what I want for myself. It don't have to be I and individualistic, this type of mentality where we're so selfish. And I want to see us become self first, not selfish. And so let's see if we have any calls and what the community has to see. Call in at 702-647-3688. Sounds good. So at this point, it's like, we know that we're divided. We know that it starts at home, but also the community. Mr. Ishmael, we know also that right now we have people who are in office who are giving a voice to those to help divide us. What do you say to some of those who have given a voice and have given a spirit? It's almost like those who are now so full of rage for our community, like they've been sleeping and now they're awakened. What do you say to that community, and what do you say to us that we can do to keep ourselves focused? Because as you said earlier, we do have a lot of hopelessness in our communities, where so many of us in our community have lost hope, and we've lost self-respect. The Bible says, as a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. And so the way we think, the way we talk, the way we walk is all a direct reflection of inferiority. And we know that with these white supremacist groups and these different folks who are enemies of our community, they're preaching superiorities to themselves and to their people. What do you say to those, and what do you say to us that we can start doing, and the things that we can start putting in our spirits to give us hope, so we're not inferior? Because I believe that every person on earth knows the value of the black man and woman, but the black man and woman, they know everything we do, we turn it to gold. They know that from basketball, football, singing, moonwalk, Charlie Brown, Boogaloo Shrimp. They know black people are gifted by God. We can, black people, we eat different. You ever saw us eat? We just got a different chew. We chew at a rhythm. And so, what do you say to those that don't know we know who we are, and they're trying to instill that inferiority into us and that lack of self-love?
Well, my dear Reverend, it's happening now. When we had to witness the horrible killing. Beyond the anger that was displayed and the outrage that we saw from not only our people who have had enough of white police officers killing our brothers, our sons, our husbands, and our fathers, but this triggered something else. And what it triggered and what it is triggering is that we are now awakening to the reality of the system that we have been living in. And so you saw all over America and beyond the borders of the United States, into other countries, into the major capitals of the world, you saw people go in the streets to protest against police brutality and injustice, and with Black Lives Matter, to see the whites in Europe, in London, in Paris, in Italy, in Madrid, Spain, in Russia, in Eastern Europe, in India, in the Middle East, in Asia, Africa, Central America. This we have never before seen in our struggle, the outpour of the international community supporting the cause of justice for the Black man and woman of America. It is forcing now the unity and everything that you just spoke. Black folk now are looking at each other, and I believe that the circumstances of the day is causing us to rethink our position and to now consider a road that we have not taken that will make all the difference in the world, and that is the real unity in the community. Frederick Douglass said, power conceives nothing except by a demand, and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan said, power doesn't concede anything except that demand is backed by a power. And the power that we have been missing to force the enemy and the oppressor to concede to our demands is our unity. So there is a consciousness coming up. You see it in the athletes. You see it in the rappers. You see it in the artists. See? Black lives not only matter, but they are absolutely essential. For if it were not for Black lives, there would be no white life and Asian life and Mexican and brown life. The Black man is the father, and the Black woman the mother of civilization. So I see something different happening among our people, dear brother, and that is what is giving us hope, is because we are now awakening, and in our awakening, we are now able, because of these conditions that are forcing us now to come to the table where we are going to have to do for self, and we are going to have to work together, because we are realizing that this system was never designed with our interests in mind. We've tried politics, and when they gave us the right to vote, and we began to vote for our politicians, and all of those cities from the late 60s into the early 70s, everywhere where we voted for a black mayor, they left us. So politics without economics is just a symbol. And so what they have done is they said, okay, y'all want to vote? Fine. And then they abandoned us, closed down the factory, ceded manufacturing jobs overseas to cheap labor markets. So I say all of that to say, dear brother, that I believe that the time now and the circumstances is forcing us to rethink our position. And I believe that we are now more ready than ever before in our history to now consider the greatest programs ever presented to black people. That is the program of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. And it is that program that is real salvation for our people, that guarantees those three principles of freedom, justice, and equality. I believe that we are now ready to embrace what God has offered us through the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And that's why they hate the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. That's why his message on the 4th, it was so powerful and heard by millions of people, because now our people, they want hope, they want guidance, they want direction, and God is giving that to us through the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
And you know, you got a way with words. You should come up with your own dictionary, because for this man, you're cold busting. But you said something that really moved me, and you said that voting, and forgive me if I don't paraphrase you correctly, but you said voting without the economic piece is basically a symbol without substance. And
right.
For me, I'm always preaching, because a few years ago I was really against voting. It was because voting to me was always put down my throat as a solution. Well, fast forward to today, I'm an advocate for voting nationally and locally. I believe we should definitely vote for a candidate who has an agenda with us in mind and who has our best interests at heart. But you see today where with our people, it's almost like voting is the only thing we have on the agenda. And I think that our people get so upset when folks like myself say, if we're just going to vote and go home and just vote and that's it, we're not going to move anywhere. And you're the first person I've ever heard bring up how valid and important and vital the economic piece is. Because if you look at other communities, when they do vote with some change in the bag. They do vote with commerce. They do vote with businesses. Most of their fundraisers are at businesses they have in their communities. I personally feel like voting can be very instrumental. But what do you say to those that only think we should just vote?
Well, dear brother, the reason why we're the only people in America. I'm sorry?
We're going to take a break at this quick moment, and we come back, Mr. Ishmael, we're going to bring you right back to segue in the power of voting and what should we do as well as vote. So, family, we'll be back on the other side of more of the People's Platform right after this. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. Am I my brother's keeper? Yes, I am. How can I be my brother's keeper if I'm not on the jury when my peer's life is at stake?
If you don't like the decisions, then become the decision makers.
Want to make a change? Vote in or run as a candidate and serve as a juror for your peers.
I am my brother's keeper because I serve on a jury.
I am my brother's keeper because I vote.
Vote and serve. It's not just a right, it's a duty to your peers.
Votes up for change. You have that power and right.
You are the face of change.
You are your brother's keeper.
Listen to me, John Johnson and Ricky Towers, live on the Voting Engagement Talk Show, as we talk about politics and local community issues, Monday from 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. here on Power 88. Show sponsored by Novamu, a company providing employment and education services to the recently released offenders. Go to novum-u.com for more information.
Check out the Mad Mix Show Saturdays 4 p.m. right here on Power 88 featuring myself, Infamous DJ Remix.
That boy's good.
I will be in the mix hitting you off with the good stuff, the new stuff, classic stuff, and some other good stuff because there's no playlist, just good music. The Mad Mix Show right here on Power 88 Saturdays 4 p.m. right after the Joyride with Joey LaShawn. And if you don't know by now, you have been warned. Told you.
This is Lady AK Advanced Knowledge of Power 88's The Breakdown, speaking to you as an executive board member of the NAACP Las Vegas Chapter 1111 under the fearless leadership of Madam President Roxanne McCoy, inviting you to join the movement for change by becoming a member of the NAACP. The NAACP has been the biggest organization for civil rights since its inception on February 12, 1909. For more information on how to become a member, simply go to naacplv.org. Be the change that you want to see and decide which side of history you want to be. This is a Power 88 PSA.
Hi, this is Lawrence Beasley, Chief Operating Officer of the Economic Opportunity Board. Please join us every fourth Tuesday at 10 a.m. EOB Spotlight right here on Power 88.
Hi, this is Rufus Harrison, host of The Groove, the cool jazz show with texture, character, and depth. On The Groove, I bring you contemporaries like Marion Meadows, George Benson, and Marcus Miller, vocal heavyweights Donny Hathaway and Nina Simone, and a host of multi-genre musicians. It's a cool and contemporary feel on The Groove, and it's here on the People Station, Power 88.1 FM, every Wednesday from 8 to 10 p.m.
Yes, sister. Thank you.
Welcome back to the People's Platform on the People's Station. I am your host, Minister Stretch, and we're discussing the state of Black America. If you have a question or comment, please call us at 702-647-3688. And we are joined with the National Assistant to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, Minister Ishmael Muhammad. And before we took our break, we were discussing the state of Black America, but particularly the voting piece, because as I always advocate, I do believe that voting is very instrumental, but I also believe that voting has become the end-all, be-all for our people. And I think that all we want to do is just vote. We vote till we black and blue, take pictures with the voting sticker, and we swore we did something. And I think that that type of behavior is really contributing to the fact we're not progressing as we should. And you stated earlier, student minister, that if we don't have the economic piece, then that voting is pretty much a symbol without substance. Can you elaborate more on that and the voting piece in general?
Yes, of course, dear brother. My teacher, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, had said, quote, that if this is to be a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, then the enlightenment of the people must be the cornerstone of a truly democratic society. And it is only when the masses of the people are enlightened and have an enlightened self-interest that their vote in a democratic society has real meaning, end quote. See, we have been herded into the Democratic Party. We have been asked to vote. They're courting us right now again, because without the black vote, the Democrats can't win. But something happened in the last election after we voted over 95% of the black vote for our brother, President Barack Obama. And we had so much hope in voting for a black man to hold the highest office in the land. And we thought that by having a black president, that brother would do for us what we have not been able to get out of the system, but we did not look at the history of our black vote and to see that from our vote, we never got back from those that we voted for what they promised us. And part of the problem is we never put our agenda on the table. And when you put an agenda that reflects your own self-interest, then the candidate has to consider your agenda, and he has to speak to your agenda. Then you hold the candidate accountable by the agenda that you put in front of them. Otherwise, they take advantage of you, and after they get your vote, then they turn their backs on the black community. So there's voter apathy now in the black community. After voting for black mayors and black senators and black judges and black state senators and even to a president, but what have we gotten from the vote? Hardly nothing. Maybe just a few crumbs. So we now realize that voting is not the answer. Voting is not going to get us into the promised land. So just to vote for what? And now in the last election, we were asked to vote for the lesser of two evils. Are you kidding me? We had to vote for Lucifer or Beelzebub. We had to vote for the devil or Satan. And we were made to believe that we had to vote. Just think about that. Vote for the lesser of two evils. And now here comes the national election again. And the talk is, oh, we got to vote. We got to get Trump out of office. As though getting him out of office is going to bring real change. There will be no real change in the black community until we unite. There will be no real change until we determine our own future and stop looking to others to do for us what we can and should be doing for ourselves. You don't see our Mexican brothers and sisters protesting and demanding of the government jobs and justice. The Italians have been here. The French have been here. The English have been here. The Greeks have been here. The Asians, the Koreans, the Chinese, the Arabs, everybody has been able to settle into America and extract and get out of the American system what they need to grow and develop their own community. But we've been here for 465 years, and we are still demanding jobs and justice from a government because nobody will respect and do for you more than you will do for yourself. And that is what will make our vote respected. It is when we show that we love ourselves and that we have an enlightened self-interest and put before the candidate an agenda. And if they don't speak to our agenda, then we withhold our vote from them. Excuse my passion, Reverend.
Passion is accepted.
And Mom, forgive me.
Your passion.
But you know, it's just voting. Vote for what? Give me something to vote for. And these candidates, they come and they just offer a few words. They really don't make any real promises to us. See? And the whole thought right now is just get Trump out of office. That shows how foolish we are as a people. What is Trump's record with black folks? And what is Biden's record with black folks? Was it not Biden who was the architect
of the crime bill in 1994? Think about what we are voting for. I'm not saying that Trump is better than Biden, and Biden is certainly not better than Trump, but our answers are not coming from whoever is elected, because that's Pharaoh. And what we are going to have to realize as a people is that we are the real children of Israel that is written in the Bible. We are the offspring and seed of Abraham that has been in a strange land under a strange people and slaves to another for 400 years. It is we that are written in the book from cover to cover. And the solution that God gave to the children of Israel and the slaves in Egypt was not for them to integrate with the Egyptians. God's solution through Moses and Aaron was not to make the slave a citizen in the land where they were oppressed and mistreated. But the solution of God was that they had to make an exodus. They had to separate. Jesus spoke the same words, be ye separate. Be ye no longer conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewal of your mind. If you were of the world, Jesus said, the world would love its own. But the world hates you. And no matter how hard we try to fit in, we are still despised and rejected and called a nigger and treated as a second and third class citizen. They treat their animals better than they treat a black man and woman. We have got to realize, as Jesus said, they hate you because you don't belong to the world. God has chosen us, Reverend, out of the world. And we are going to have to take an independent step in order for us to realize the future that we want for ourselves. Nothing of this system will ever work for us.
And I think that's powerful. I think everything you said is spot on. I think that with our unity, as your father said, is more powerful than an atomic bomb. I think we have the power, believe it or not, as black people to unite. And if we vote for Joe Biden and voted for Joe Biden, I believe if we united, had an agenda, had the economic piece, had the heart, the courage, we can position him to do what we want for our community. But the problem is, a lot of us don't want to do that. But I'm hoping that we do that, that we do come together, pull together our resources, because what's the first thing they do when it's voting season? Come to the black church, go see the black preachers, go to the black restaurants. So they know our power. They know the importance of getting that black vote. They may tell us that they don't need it, but they do need it. But they're able to skip past us, because when they say, okay, what you guys got for me, we arguing over religion. He a Muslim. I don't want to unite with Muslims. He a Christian. He Kemetic. He Europe. But we still fighting over religion. When we should be not fighting at all, but coming together, because until all of us are on board, the ship is not going to move. That means black lives that are trans, black lives that are gay, preachers, Muslims. I'll be the one to first say, I don't care who you pray to, who you lay with. I don't have a heaven and hell to place you in. I don't have to agree with it, but we can discuss those things once we get free. And I believe that once we do unite, we're going to be so in love with each other that disagreements aren't even going to mean anything to us. And so I really hope that we understand the importance of us coming together and the importance of unity. If you can just speak just a few minutes before we get ready to wrap this thing up on how important is our unity to progress, because you touched on it, but if you can give us a little more elaborating on that quote of your father, which is our unity is more powerful than an atomic bomb, because I don't think we understand that just by us coming together and being united, the respect will be different. How important is that unity for the state of Black America, and how important is that unity for our condition as Black people in the country of America?
It's everything, brother. It is the solution
Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, would solve 95% of our problems. Unity is not as difficult as we may think. You said it. It starts with the respect that each of us as God's creatures have been made uniquely different. There are no two blades of grass that come up from the ground, though they may look the same, yet they are not the same. Nor are they two raindrops that fall from the cloud or two snowflakes that are alike. Each of us are uniquely made by the Creator. When it comes to the unity of our community, the thing that brings the unity is really found in a law of mathematics. Simple arithmetic we were taught. And we were taught in school that to make a fraction a whole number, you have to do what? Find the least common denominator. The least common denominator is not religion, not what you call yourself. The least common denominator is our color. It is our ethnicity. That you are blood of my blood, bone of my bone, flesh of my flesh. That's what made Brother and dear Reverend, the Million Man March so magnificent, because nearly 2 million men stood together shoulder to shoulder. We were there as Christians and Muslims. We were there as Pan-Africanists, as Hebrews. We were there as Christian and Muslim. We were there as Bloods and Crips and Stones and disciples. No matter what label we wore, on that day we saw ourselves in the image and the likeness of God, and that's what made the day so beautiful, is because we did not see our differences. The world in which we live, which is Satan's world, he always magnifies and accentuates the differences and diminishes what we share in common. So unity is the key, and that's why the U.S. government and the wicked forces under which we live have always broken up our unity when brother would find common ground with his own brother. He always works to pit brother against his own brother. But I close this point to say, dear brother, there is a new generation present. And these millennials and these young brothers and sisters, they are not like their fathers and their grandfathers and grandparents. This generation is a generation that really has had enough. And they are the hope of our future. And they are the generation that will bring the unity, because God, Reverend, is forcing the unity right now by what the enemy is doing to us. So God is creating circumstances and conditions to force the unity that we would not do on our own.
Ladies and gentlemen, Minister Ishmael Muhammad, student minister, you have definitely laid out so many vital, important things. And I think it's so awesome that you were able to be our guest and to speak some life, hope, and love to our people. We're so grateful and forever grateful and look forward to building with you. Do you have any last words or comments you want to speak to the city of Las Vegas?
My dear brother, I will close with these words. We are living in the time of the end. present world. All of the events that we have witnessed are in fulfillment of prophecy. You know, as a pastor and a reverend, the word of God that was spoken through the prophet, Daniel said that there would be a great time of trouble since there never was, since there was a time and a nation and never again to be equal. You know the words of Jesus. He said that there would be distress and confusion of nations, and there would be signs in the sun, the moon, and the stars, and the tossing and the roaring of the seas, which represent the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the seas, the dissatisfaction of the people rising up against unjust rule. We're living in the time of God's judgment. We're living now witnessing a pandemic that has never come upon the inhabitants of this planet. This isn't a virus, as the minister said in his July 4th address, from Wuhan or from some laboratory. We are under the divine judgment of God. America is unraveling before our very eyes. White supremacy is dying every day. We're living in the change of one world and another world coming into existence. So Jesus said, when you see all these things happen, pestilence and famines and earthquakes in various places, and you hear wars and rumors of wars and nation rising up against nation and children being disobedient to their parents and brother betraying brother, he said, when you see these things happen, know that the end is near. But he also said, lift up your head, because you know your redemption draws near. I ask every brother and sister, every human being that's listening to this program of enlightenment, to listen to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's message on July 4th. Go to NOI.org to be enlightened, to be given hope, to be given guidance and direction for your life, my life, the life of this nation and our future. God has given to America in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan what he gave to Egypt before America, what he gave to ancient Babylon before America, what he gave to ancient Rome before America. Surely Allah has blessed America with a divine servant, a messenger from himself in the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Listen to what God is saying to that man that he raised from the black man and woman of America as a guide and a divine warner in this great time of trouble.
Ladies and gentlemen, once again, we were joined with Student Minister Ishmael, the National Assistant to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Minister Ishmael, thank you so much for being our guest of this evening. We're so forever grateful and honored to have you on, sir. Thank you.
Oh, the honor was all mine. May God continue to bless you and your blessed mother to continue to use these airways to enlighten your audience and to give to the people that essential knowledge. For it is in that knowledge that you, dear Reverend, give hope to the people. You, dear Reverend, give guidance to the people. For America and our community need now more than ever divine guidance. Keep up the good work, and may God protect you, and may he anoint you with his spirit, that you may preach glad tidings to the poor, mend the broken heart, comfort those that mourn, and free those from the prison of darkness, that they may know that God is surely among us, and what God has given as a solution to our problem is the only way that we can save ourselves and the only way that America will have a better future. Thank you for the honor. Thank you for the privilege. I remain your brother. I remain your friend. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, sir. We love you. I look forward to going to Chicago Chicken and Waffles and getting some chicken with you, brother. Roof, there it is, y'all.
All right,
Minister Ishmael, guys. So, Vegas family, as we get ready to close this thing out, I encourage you guys to understand that, yes, we've laid out the condition, but there's also some solutions. We have to unite. We have to encourage each other. We have to love each other because coronavirus and so many other viruses like racism and police terror has taken our hope. But hope is still alive. As we take this thing home, my mother's going to give us the quote of the night.
All right, everybody. So the quote of the night today is, work hard to discover your gifts, and you will never envy or hate another human being who is manifesting theirs. And that is the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan.
So, guys, you got it. For those who tuned in late, please get the book of the month, Defining Moments in Black History, Reading Between the Lines by the Honorable late Dick Gregory. So, family, we know what to do. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. Thank you for tuning in to the People's Platform on the People's Station, Power 88. I will be here again next month, August 10th. We will be speaking on the topic of activism in today's world. We have a national figure, Brother Zeke, who's the founder and president of New Era Nation. But make sure you tune in, guys, next Monday with Mike Elliott, and I will see you next month. Be blessed, be